What is up? And welcome back to Zakkongen. And as recording this, it is officially Hallow's afternoon. Because I'm not recording this in the evening. That would be way too dark. And this is the special Halloween drawing video. And I've been waiting for you to see these drawings because they were crazy. I really like them. I did some new things, some cool things. All in all, it was really good. And yeah, I won't keep you waiting. So, without further ado, let's get into the Halloween special drawing video. On the 1st of October, a strange and eerie fog rolled over the entirety of Transylvania, cutting off most communication to the outside world. Of course, the king was rightfully worried about the situation and came to the conclusion that an expedition was to be sent into the fog. The expedition were to include 30 of the king's finest trained soldiers, 10 majors, a supply wagon, and several different types of ologists, one of which was of course me, sent out to document any potential dragons we were to encounter. Our primary objectives were to investigate the cause of the fog and to make connection with the 7 major fortified towns. All of us were to group up in Moldova, and from there, make our way into the fog. As we started our expedition, we were walking through fog-covered open fields. But before we knew it, trees began popping up around us, as well as glowing pumpkins. The pumpkins illuminated just enough to light our path forward, and we continued on until we discovered a giant pumpkin within the forest. Our biologists began investigating the cause of the specific pumpkin's enormous size, when all of a sudden, white melted skin and a pair of wings shot out from the plant, and a head with a single burning horn growled at us. We prepared ourselves for battle as the dragon started forming a warm light from its mouth. I was expecting the dragon to shoot forth a type of fire, but instead a beam of intense light shot forth from it, small, disintegrating part of a nearby tree. Considering the situation, I rushed the others to retreat as the dragon was already charging up another beam. As we ran through the pumpkin-filled forest, the dragon was chasing us down right until we exited the last few trees of the forest. At that point, it was like the dragon could not care less of us. We decided to stay outside the forest for a few hours so that I could research the dragon. I used the time to carefully sneak around in my bat form to observe the dragon. I learned a lot about the preferably named torch-stemmed gardener's behavior, but also about the mysterious glowing pumpkins from the forest. It seems as though this dragon is a sort of gardener for the pumpkins, hence the name, as the light it emits works wonders for the pumpkin's growth and mutation. I also learned that the reason this dragon hides and covers its body in a pumpkin-like shell is because of its fragile skin that even seems to melt when it uses the disintegrating light. I decided to inform everyone that this dragon only would oppose us if we traversed its garden, and that we should leave it to itself and continue on our primary mission. So this was the jack-o'-lantern dragon, and I really like this dragon. Sketching was so easy. I literally just swung my pencil around and it just appeared, the form. And I also like how I did the almost candle-like scales or body it has, which was kind of liquid, but not liquid. That was really good detail. And also the glowing pumpkins. Its pumpkin itself glowed super much. And also I just did some new shading stuff and used some new head shapes. A lot of it was just new. It turned out great. I'm gonna use that shading stuff more. This is the dragon. We continued further into the fog, walking through another forest, when we stumbled upon an old, ruined outpost. We decided to investigate and search for any potential residents in trouble, as we had heard howling in the surrounding area. The building had clearly been abandoned for generations, yet we all had the sensation that something was off about the place. Our suspicions were confirmed when we discovered crates, barrels, and bags piled up in a corner. All the supplies were in decent conditions, so all of it had to have been stored here recently. Under all the crates, barrels, and bags, we discovered a small doorway leading down into a dungeon. A few of us decided to scout through the dungeon and help any potential people trapped down there. We carefully made our way down, watching our step as to not set off any traps. About halfway down the corridor, we heard something, and a soldier in the lead rushed forward to help. But to all of our terror, we heard a click from the ground. Suddenly, another soldier charged in front of me and tackled the soldier to the ground, taking all the arrows himself. We carried him up from the dungeon in his final breath, and as we exited the doorway, I noticed a creature perched at the top of the tower. The creature was a wyvern, now called a grim-winged reaper, and it had black smooth scales and a light grey exoskeleton. Blue whips flew around and from its body, and it had a light blue core. Its head was adorned with 4 swaying horns and a bird-like beak. Lastly, a small glowing orb floated beside it. We put the dying soldier down, and his brother kneeled beside him, explaining how foolish it was of him to rush forth towards the sound without checking for traps. The 2 brothers said their goodbyes as the dying soldier closed his eyes for the final time. At the same time, a light blue orb emerged from the body, and the wyvern swooped down towards it. When it came close enough, the orb attached to the wyvern and followed it into the fog, as if the wyvern guided it into the afterlife. This dragon was so goddamn annoying to make. I used 5 tries just to get the head. I don't know what happened. It was crazy. It is a good dragon now, but it's my least favorite. I do not like how long it took me. Apparently making a beak on a dragon is almost impossible. But there are some things I like about it. I like the fact that it's like it was meant to have a beak because it was supposed to be a raven-like dragon. For the Grim Reaper, ravens are kind of like dead thingies. As well as it having all the souls around it. I like that. I liked all the blue colors. The blue shine. That wasn't it. That was a good thing. Let's take a look at the dragon. We wrapped up and loaded the soldier onto the wagon so that he could be buried when we returned from our mission. Nevertheless, with lowered morale, we continued onwards towards Midas, the closest of the 7 major fortified towns. As we walked through the forest, a howl broke the silence, followed up by a draconic roar. We continued on the opposite direction, as I knew I had heard that roar many times before. The roar stemmed from a blue-scaled longhorn, a common dragon in Transylvania. We continued onwards for another half an hour, studying some interesting types of mushrooms, when we all of a sudden entered a glade with a blue-scaled longhorn resting in the center. As I looked closer, I realized that the dragon had a bit of blood spilling from behind its arm scales. Then it struck me that I would have the chance to research one of the rarest phenomenons in draconic history, the phenomenon of a werewolf dragon. The reason this phenomenon is so rare is because of a dragon's scales and strength. A werewolf therefore has no opportunity to bite the dragon, except if it manages to bite in between the dragon's scales. Most animals would just have a gaping wound after that fight, but draconics are intelligent enough to inherit a werewolf's transformation. The others decided to continue onwards, as I was perfectly able to defend myself and catch up to them. I waited in patience for the transformation to begin, as the full moon was up today. And then it happened. The moon shined through the trees, and the dragon began growing wolf-like fur in between its scales, as growing giant wolf claws from its hands. Shortly after, I had to leave as the dragon began tearing the trees apart. I regrouped with the rest of the group, and we entered the walls of Miras. This was the werewolf dragon. Now originally, this was going to be a necromancer dragon, but I didn't want to really do another skeleton, undead kind of one, so I did werewolf. And the reason the lore for this one wasn't as good is because I had I didn't have less time to make it. I had a really hard time making it, so I kind of had to rush it here in the end. So yeah, that's why it's not as good. I still think there's something in it. I didn't have to describe an entire new dragon, so it's fine. What I like most about this dragon is the background. I love all the torn up trees with scratches and just destroyed. I think it looks really good, and that's what I like most. I have not really anything to say, except I decided myself to draw every single one of those fur pieces, those bits of fur. I don't know why, I just wanted to. It looked great, but it was hard. All in all, this is a really good dragon. Probably my favorite. I really liked it that much. Yeah, that's this dragon. Hope you like it. So that is that for this drawing video, and I hope you like it. It's the monthly drawing video and the goddamn Halloween drawing video. I loved all of these dragons, except number two. Number two was stressful. 5 attempts to just draw the head. That was just crazy. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, comment, share. All those things help the channel, and then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.